Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. This was entitled I Excretus. And it starts where the ensigns are on a spacewalk repair type duty outside the ship, walking along some kind of satellite or space station with mag boots and spacesuits and the whole thing. And they accidentally get left behind when the Cerritos gets a distress call, but end up being retrieved when the ship realizes that it left them behind about 6 hours later and picks them up. The plot of this episode, though, revolves around the crew having to go through training simulations because the ship has been performing so poorly. And it ends up reversing their roles. It puts the lower decks in the position of higher ups, the command crew, and vice versa. Mariner gets a mirror universe sim as her first simulation, which she quickly fails, but it was very cool. There's some cool stuff. You see like Mirror Universe Boimler and Mirror Universe Rutherford and Mirror Universe engineer guy who in this universe is super horny, which is funny because in the previous episode in the correct universe, we see that he's not that way at all. It was just very cool to see the characters in their mirror universe personas and uniforms and everything. But what's weird is it was the old school mirror universe. It wasn't the mirror universe from their time. It was the TOS era mirror universe, which of course made it cool, but doesn't really make sense. But anyway, it was cool. Tendi gets a medical simulation in which she's supposed to help a Klingon who has broken his back take his own life in a ceremonial fashion, which of course is an echo of that episode where Worf goes through this. But she doesn't want to do it, and the Klingon keeps getting upset with her, and in the process he manages to fall off the table. And the two medical assistants come in, and they're like, oh no, he's not gonna die, we have to kill him, you know? And they keep saying like stuff like, oh, it's not working, he's still living. It was just very funny. Next, we see Mariner in a Western sim, and she dies very quickly by getting trampled by a horse. But it was supposed to be like a fistful of datas kind of situation, or, you know, the one where the original series had the OK Corral situation on a weird planet. But anyway, it was funny. The coolest thing probably in the episode, well, I don't know, tied, I guess, for coolest with the Mirror Universe sim, was Rutherford's sim, which put him in a Wrath of Khan era Constitution class ship, having to sort of repeat the save the ship moment from Wrath of Khan, where he has to go into the chamber and like fix the thing like Spock did. And of course he fails, and they did an outside shot of the ship from a distance, and you just see it explode. And it was just very funny. It was very well done. And, you know, we got to see him in the Wrath of Khan era engineering suit, as well as another random crew member in the Wrath of Khan era Starfleet uniforms. That was very cool in cartoon form. Boimler ends up getting a Borg sim, and he succeeds at it, but he only gets like a 79%. So he keeps trying it over and over again because he wants to get 100%. So he starts it a second time. Back to Mariner. She gets a sim that is based on the Naked Time from the original series and the Naked Now, which of course was the Next Gen episode, where the crew gets the same weird virus. And this sim was just bonkers and depicts the crew in all manner of debaucherous situations of the sexual nature, including the cat doctor lady, and spread eagle shot of Boimler, which fortunately they blurred, or blocked, I should say. And Mariner's like, I want to get out of here. Just fail me. I'm failing it. I want to fail this. So she opens the airlock and sucks everybody out.
Correction, sir. That's blown out.
Just so she could fail the sim to get out of it. It was very funny. Meanwhile, back to Boimler, he keeps saving more and more Borg, and you know, so that they can reclaim their humanity. Like he starts with the Borg baby, but then he saves all the Borg babies. Then he saves some Borg drones, and he keeps just going over and he keeps going over it and over it, and he keeps surviving it, but he can't get to 100%. It's like 80%, 82%. So he just keeps going. The bridge crew, meanwhile, gets a very silly sim where their job is to just stack crates while the rest of the crew is facing down an emergency because they're playing the part of the lower decks that don't get to participate in anything, and it was kind of funny. The whole crew then ends up getting a joint simulation that's basically the plot or part of the plot of Star Trek 3, where they had to steal the Enterprise. So they have to steal the Cerritos to, I guess, get Captain Spock back to the Genesis planet or whatever, or get to the Genesis. I don't know. They mentioned Spock anyway. I don't remember how they worded it, if it was correct to the plot of Star Trek 3 or not, but they bring up Spock. But because they keep bickering, like, for example, Mariner and her mother, which in real life, of course, wouldn't happen. Well, I shouldn't say in real life, which, of course, in the real Starfleet wouldn't happen, right? But this is a cartoon. So they end up failing because they can't, they're paralyzed and they don't do anything because they're arguing and they fail. But it works out in a way because both groups gain an appreciation of each other's contribution to the functioning of the ship. The lower decks come to appreciate, hey, the bridge crew and the upper guys really do a good job. And the bridge crew goes, these ensigns, they really do a good job. I forgot what it was like to be like them. And so that's cool. And they think that that's what the point of it was. But it turns out that the drill instructor who was putting them through all this targeted the crew of this ship for failure, wanted them to fail based on their record. But Boimler is still in his simulation. He's trying to get to 100%. So the captain tells him to stay in there. He has to keep going. He can't quit because when he quits or when it ends, when he finishes it, their scores will be uploaded and Starfleet will reassign them all. So they don't want that to happen. So they to keep going, and he ends up meeting the Borg Queen, and she does that thing where she blows on him like the Borg Queen did in the TNG movie First Contact, and she was even voiced by Alice Krige, so it was very cool. But what the crew does is they take the instructor on a series of real missions with high stakes and high danger to show her that she's wrong to think that they're failures, and she gets so scared by this all that she's like, okay, I'll change your scores, you pass. So it was very cool. They went to see a crystalline entity at one point for part of it, and they did like a time gravimetric shear type of thing. I forget, that was a reference to another episode of Star Trek. It was very cool. Poor Boimler ends up failing the sim because he ends up getting assimilated, and he takes on the name Excretus, which is why the name of the episode is I Excretus, and he comes out as like, I am Excretus, you will be a and they're like, no, it's just a sim. It was very funny, very good episode. It has to be like the best episode so far. I still don't like some of the little things they do that make the crew seem very un-Starfleet, but it's really just very funny. And if you have a sense of humor at all about the weird stuff that's gone on in Star Trek over the last 50 plus years, it's just very enjoyable to watch this show. I just wish they'd say it wasn't part of canon so that we didn't have to think, that these people are really, what I'm saying, that we could, but anyway, I repeat this every week. But this is a very good episode. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next week. The season's almost over. There are only a couple more episodes, but I will be back to review each of them as they come out. Until then, I wish you all peace and long life.